I was going to explain. Doing 16th, 32nds, and 64th notes was the first thing I was doing. I was just doing single stroke 16ths, single stroke 32nds, double stroke 64ths. So if you practice them slow enough, and if you practice them at like 2 beats first before you try to sustain them up to 4 beats, that's a good way to kind of get there. But if you just start at a slow enough tempo, you can play them. You can play them for sure. You just kind of have to get used to, what your how you're shifting and changing throughout those note values. But you're just playing twice as many notes in the same amount of space, right? So if you ever have difficulty kind of figuring out like, how do I get up to that amount of notes? You can always just think of the motion you're keeping with your single strokes of whatever that note value is. Then just start playing double strokes with it in each hand, then you're automatically doubling the note value that you're playing within that. So say you're playing single stroke 16ths, double stroke 32nds, so then you're keeping that same motion of the 1E and a 2E and a, but then you just start to do doubles. Make sense? Okay, so you can play double stroke 32nds as well, but kind of to get the motion of 64th notes, you're keeping the same motion as single stroke 32nds, but then starting to play double stroke with them. Okay, so just kind of that's my overall point is, whatever you're playing with your singles, then playing that into a double stroke will automatically increase that by double amount of notes, right? And you're not playing faster. A lot of people think, I'm playing faster because I'm playing, it sounds like you're playing faster, it feels like you're playing faster, but you're not playing faster, you're just playing more notes in the same amount of space. So your pulse is whatever it is, stays consistent. You're just fitting more notes in that same amount of space. So you're not speeding up or slowing down tempo-wise, if that makes sense, okay? So just play 2 beats of each. So think of 1E and a, 2E and a, for 2 beats, right? Count your syllables. It helps. Count your syllables. Playing 2 beats of that. Playing 2 beats of your 32nd notes. That's 2 beats worth. Then play 2 beats of your 64th notes. That would be 2 beats of it. Okay, back to your single stroke 16ths. So what that would sound like if you just play 2 beats of each, and in a pattern, what I started with was 4 beats of each. But 2 beats would sound like 1E and a, 2E and a. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. But if you play them slow tempo, you got to start your 16th note slow. So that way you can play those 64th notes. Then just slowly increase the number of beats you're playing worth of them. So go from 2 to 4, and then once you get up to playing a sustained 4 quarter notes, do your downbeat, whatever your pulse is, 4 downbeats worth of your note values, then speeding up your tempo. So I would kind of, incrementally increase it in that way. So 2 beats of each, play that till you're comfortable with it, nice and slow. Get that up to 4 beats of it. Then start to play around with your tempo. You could increase your tempo at 2 beats each also if you wanted to do that first. Then get them up to your 4 beats, okay? Then the other cool little exercise, and that's for hand speed, cleanliness exercise. Just trying to keep it going. And you don't have to play with a whole lot of force to do them, but trying to keep that big amount of motion, and then as you get in faster, just speed it up. You can play staccato notes instead of legato notes. But just trying to keep all that, having the stick do that, bounce up, back up into your hand like that. That's what you're trying to control. Letting the stick just do that, bouncing of the ball motion, we call it. You just keep that going, okay? Then, the stepping up the ladder thing, I like to call it. I don't know, I don't have a better name for it, so that's just what I call it. But the reason I call it is because you're stepping up from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to however many you can get, but 5 is an ambitious goal at first when you first start practicing this. They're all closed stroke, so you shouldn't be seeing like, okay, so starting at 2, you're just doing double strokes, right? And I would isolate the hands first too, just thinking closed strokes. So you shouldn't be seeing you should be seeing a closed stroke, okay? So, have that nice looseness in your hand. You have to hold the stick like just tight enough to where you can get those notes out, but just loose enough that you're playing the back of the stick and letting that teeter-totter motion happen, hinging on the stick. Wherever your fulcrum point is on the Big Firth sticks, it's on the American flag. So if you hold right on that American flag, that'll give you the best balance point, and you're just controlling that motion of letting the stick do the bouncing, so it's going to wobbling back and forth like that, picking your hand up right at the right time. So isolate the hands, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, double strokes, double, 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 double treble. Then go to 3, triplet, 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 but you get the idea. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, isolating. See how I'm doing closed strokes for this? You're not seeing my hand go. So I'm not doing opens, I'm doing closed. Okay? Double, triples. To the left hand. And what you're really trying to do is keep the motion into the stick from your throwdown. So your throwdown is a wrist stroke, but the rest of it it's moeller method, closed stroke. So you are using a throwdown, so don't get me wrong in saying that your wrist should never move, because you are getting a legato stroke for the first note, because you want to keep all of that energy, kinetic energy, in the stick going, because that's what you're controlling with your fingers on the other pull-up notes, okay? So thinking wrist fingers working in conjunction, but not as an open stroke, as a closed stroke. Okay? So then, because the reason I'm saying to do this closed stroke very specifically, and you're going to have to watch your hands at first, because if you're not used to playing closed stroke or moeller, or if you're always used to doing your doubles as opens, you'll have to pay particularly close attention to that as you're doing it. But to get up to that, then I'm at the 3, so I'm doing 3 triplets, right? Triplet, 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 triplet. You get the idea. Then going to 4. So you see how I'm doing a throwdown. That first throwdown is a good raised, legato stroke. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Then to the left hand. So you see, you can hear, like, as I bring the stick with a little more kinetic energy in it, you can hear those notes come out in a different way. And what you're shooting for is that each note is sounding even, and you're not hearing, like, the first 2 are loud and pronounced, but all the rest are, low and thin. You're trying to get as equal amount of sound, and it will be harder the more and more notes you do with each hand, but you're trying to get every note to sound even. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you get the idea? But now, up to a 5 stroke in each hand. That's what I meant where the ambitious goal kind of comes in with this. But it's kind of fun. You can play around with it and have fun. And after you're done isolating the hands, then turn them into rolls where you're using both hands. So just think double stroke roll, right? To a triple stroke roll. That kind of idea as you're going up through it. But it's good just to isolate the hands first, because it'll take a little bit to get each hand to kind of get used to pulling that number of notes out. Okay, then once you get up to the 4 stroke, all in one hand, then the 5. You're accenting the 5, okay? So you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got to do a little English on that one, okay? Da 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 da, da 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 da. Kind of, getting that little snap in there, and trying to get your accent in there. But 5 notes, a 5 stroke in one hand. Just as quick as you can get them up to, too. Practice them slow to fast. That's another thing I should have said, too. Because playing closed stroke slow, like if you're doing a 5 stroke really slow, getting the stick to keep bouncing in a slow fashion, it can be harder than trying it fast. So trying them fast and slow. Okay, you get the idea. Then the left hand. Okay, going back and forth, and then up to, you can get up to, you know, a seven in each hand, or even up to a 9. But that starts to get a little more difficult, and it really hinges on that first throwdown. You get the idea, but you're accenting on that last note as your odd numbered note. Okay, so just think of even amount of strokes, and then if you're on your odd, that's what you're accenting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But see how the notes will start to sound thinner and thinner as the stick loses that kinetic energy? Those last notes in that part, so trying to get even an amount of notes as you can, and kind of using French grip too versus German grip. German will help you get those notes down in a different way than your French as well. So the thing is, your wrist lock in this position, I don't have my students start off with French grip, because if you train your muscle memory like that right out of the gate, it's hard for a lot of students to try to start playing German grip after they've just worked with nothing but playing right in front of themselves and doing this for everything. So right in the beginning, I try to focus all my students on playing a good wrist and fingers, so that that way they get the benefit of understanding how to use their wrist and fingers in conjunction with one another, and how they work simultaneously, rather than where your wrist lock in French position, because it's not so much of a shaking of the hand motion, it's a waving bye-bye motion. So if you used your throwdown with that first wrist stroke and your fingers, you'll get a different amount of control with those notes than you will in just playing French. And with your thumb on top of the stick. Because when your thumb's on top of the stick, blocking rebound in a certain way, right? The stick can't come all the way up because your thumb's on top of the stick. Turn your wrist down like that, and you can bring the stick back in parallel with your arm. Even further back than that. So you can actually create like a 30-degree angle down towards the ground, and then really get a whipping motion into it. So your throwdown is nice and strong with that wrist in that position, because you're no longer blocking your wrist at the certain position with your thumb on top of the stick. Okay, so I play French as well, and it's only natural to play in French, like when your hand is coming to the position of a ride, right? So you're going to be using both. Depending on where your hands are at in space. But training your muscle memory for this type of exercise, it's best to try with your wrist and fingers, working in conjunction in a German. Okay? And just have fun with it. Twos, doubles. You can just get up to whatever you can for your fastest, then triples, then your fours. That was a bad one. I'm looking at the camera instead of looking at my hands too, so I should probably be looking at my hands. Then up to your 5-stroke. Okay, get the idea. That's a fun exercise. At least, I don't know, I have fun doing it. I don't know, I've never seen any other instructional videos on it, so I don't know what else to call it. Obviously just closed stroke. Or your moeller method, but I'm saying as far as the stepping up the ladder, I've never seen other people suggest that as an exercise, as far like play your doubles as closed, then play triple stroke roll as closed, then up to 4-stroke roll, and all in one hand. Most of the time they just have instructional videos on like a 4 with both hands, or a 5, that kind of thing, practicing your rolls in that way. Using your, but then trying to get them all into one hand, now that changes everything in your brain, kind of like, wait, I'm so used to using double strokes within each of my hands to get out that number of notes. But what it'll help you with, ultimately, is it will help you train for a lot of your fine touch stuff, and it will help you with your ghost notes, especially in your right or left hand. And it'll also help, well, and also with doing that kind of stuff within your ride patterns, so that way if you're playing, off the cymbals or doing like a little 30-second note thing in the middle of a 16th note groove, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and those kind of things. It'll help within that way too with your closed stroke rolls. But it really turns into a great fine touch thing and brings your hands together. So then once you isolate it, you can bring them together as one unit, if you will, and have fun with then not having to rely on bringing two hands to each surface to get that many notes out. So if you're going to your right, then you play 4-stroke with one hand, or so that kind of thing. Okay. If you're coming to your left, or you're playing crossed and you're playing a snare pattern, then that way you can now play more articulate ghosts and getting more than just playing like one single stroke with your left hand if you're playing syncopated patterns or stuff with ghost notes. Playing 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, that kind of a thing. And now you can start to play with more touch with it. That kind of thing. So then you start to do your drags or your roughs. Drags and roughs. Okay, whatever you want to call them. A lot of people, use those two terms interchangeably. So, but usually what you think of is you're either coming out of the accent note with your double stroke, or you're going into it. So a drag being like you're dragging yourself into the note, but just two notes, 2/16 before your accent. Okay? Or coming out of your accent, left, left. Or you can do it the other way around too. Left, right, right, left, right, right. Or right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Drags and roughs. Alright guys, stepping up the ladder. Have fun with that. And then getting your hands used to those 16ths, 32nds, and 64th notes. Remember, 2 beats first. 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 30 seconds, 64ths, 64ths, 30 seconds, 64ths, 64ths. Okay, then once you get 2 beats of each, up to 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Hello.
Hi, your student's been waiting up here.
Which student?
Do you have graduate today at 5:30, or because usually he has drums with you first?
Yeah, but aren't we doing our lessons on Friday, Brandon? Oh yeah, because they started coming on Fridays together, him and his brother at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So I've been seeing him every Friday, so I didn't know.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry. I just
Well, we can do a lesson right now if you want. No thanks? That's alright. Well, we have time to get one in if you want. I mean, it's a little over time now, but yeah, I thought you guys were coming on Friday.
Oh, I think, yeah, I think we just did I think it's 6 hours at 5:30, and then I guess it's just going to be Friday.
Yeah, I think that he was just coming for piano on Mondays now. Or I mean on Wednesdays now. Yeah.
Oh, sorry about
Yeah,
that.
no, don't worry about it.
Okay, thanks, Billy.
Yeah, don't worry.